Life is chaos. Not just mine, but in general, and well, actually, particularly mine. When you have nothing but a fallible human brain, you're liable making two silly mistakes on your writing journey. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the mistakes I made in 2025. In case you're new here, hi, I'm Katri, I'm your new writing bestie, and this is Protagonist Crafts, the place for people who are kind of obsessed with that whole writing thing. So let's just get straight into it. Here's mistake number 1. Fantasy planning, also known as that guy trap. So in 2025, I tried to work on a new novel, edit and query another novel that I finished years ago. And I tried to study writing on top of, everything else that I do. And yeah, that is in itself is fine. I'm sure there are loads of people who are capable of that and even more, but I wasn't, and I shouldn't have been surprised that I wasn't able to do it. And I don't have a day job, so it's like I don't have to waste time on commuting and answering my boss's emails. I am self-employed. This is my job. But yeah, it does take some work, especially when I want to make money and buy groceries. And everything related to writing, it took so much longer than I thought. If you'd like to know which one of the balls I dropped, it was the writing studies one. I'm not sad about it. It was a bad fit, and I could talk about that in a different video if you want. But yeah, that's the ball that I ended up dropping. And yeah, this was the year that I was on ADHD meds for most of the year. Sometimes they worked, sometimes not. I'm currently on day 2 of my newest meds, so fingers crossed. Also, I have 2 children, and children will keep being children, as in they need me, but also they will bring in germs. But yeah, life will be lifing, whether or not you have children or studies and stuff. And I had planned all this stuff for a hypothetical fantasy version of me. Some guy could have been able to do that, but this is my life, and I wasn't able to do that. And I shouldn't have been surprised. I should have planned more conservatively. So you can avoid this by watching my video on how to make writing goals that actually stick, and making your plans around the life that you have right now. Not some kind of a fantasy life where you have all the hours of the day to work on your little projects. And mistake number 2 was not listening to my gut while planning my story. I am a big fan of outlining your story beforehand. I have a lot of content about that and about plotting. But sometimes you have to figure your story out from the inside out. You do have to maybe sometimes start writing something before it becomes clear to you. And in general, you do have to mull over these things. So it's just planning your novel. It's okay, I've got it all figured out. You do have to spend time thinking about it. But the mistake that I made was that I was planning this story, and there was something there that just didn't click. And it was I can't figure this thing out. I just don't know what to put in here. There was something missing, and I just kept thinking, oh well, I'll figure that out later. I'll start writing and I will figure out this massive gap. It wasn't just a massive gap in the plot line, but sort of the motivation of that character, and sort of the inner world. He was very flabby at one point, sort of why is she doing this stuff? And I wasn't entirely sure. And yeah, that is a big problem. So no, you don't have to, and sometimes can't, plan your entire novel in one sitting or just as a single process. And sometimes you do have to be oh well, that's a problem for future me. But that can also lead to a disaster. But when do you know when you can leave something open and when you do need to have something planned? Well, think of this. When you think about it, does it feel oh well, this will be fun to figure out later, yay, writing? Or does it feel I have no idea what's going to happen, but maybe I'll figure it out? Let's hope so. If it's the latter, that's a big problem. Problems like that most likely stem from not just the parts where you're stuck, but way before that. So maybe your protagonist and their problem, maybe they're a bad match, or maybe they're just in my case, there wasn't enough motivation to do something. And you can't fix that by forcing just the bit where you're stuck. It just needs a more complete reworking of the story, unfortunately. So listen to your guts. Is this problem still going to be a problem when you come across it when you're writing your first draft? Or do you feel confident that you will be able to figure it out? What does it feel like in your guts? What is it saying to you? Listen to yourself. If it doesn't feel right, it isn't right. And my mistake number 3 was ignoring the signs when trying to write. What signs am I talking about? Well, I mean, my mind. So if you feel irritated or just generally stupid when trying to write, it won't be fixed by forcing it. And it's normal if starting to write feels difficult and if it's difficult to motivate yourself. But if when you've made yourself start, and you've been making some progress and you've got over the hump, and if it doesn't feel any better, then it won't be fixed by forcing it. That's like trying to drive with a handbrake on. It won't fix itself with driving fast. So you need to, turn the handbrake off. So whether you like it or not, you're going to need mental and physical rest. I know it's mandatory. You're living inside a human body with a fallible human brain. And I'm talking about actual rest. Scrolling through social media, and especially not like doom scrolling, that isn't rest. Your nervous system is going like, the entire time. It's not good for you. And dissociating in front of the TV also doesn't count as rest. Physically, maybe, but not mentally or emotionally. So what you should do instead is just maybe read something that feels enjoyable to read, do some journaling, go for a walk, look at birds, if you've got any outside, unless you live in some kind of a completely birdless area. Sounds terrible, but yeah, do a little craft, go for a walk, exercise, stuff like that. You might wonder, how is exercise resting? But again, we also talked about mental resting, and it's also good for your nervous system. After that, rest physically. Maybe take a nap and stop trying to hustle all the time, all right? Burning yourself out will do absolutely nothing good for you, for your writing, or for your future, so don't. I talk a lot about how you can fit writing into your life even if you're busy, but still, it's like we all have different capabilities for how much we can handle and different bandwidths for thinking and stuff. And sometimes sometimes you do have to accept that I could maybe have the time to write, but I can't. I don't have the brain power to do it, and that's okay. Instead of giving up completely, you could also just do less of it for shorter periods of time. Learn to rest, not to quit, and just accept the season of life that you're in currently, because fighting it won't help. And mistake number 4 I made was being fooled by sunk cost fallacy. Sometimes you just have to give up on an idea. I mean, yeah, it's good to be tenacious, and sometimes a story idea is just waiting for the right time. But sometimes you just have to accept that this idea, it isn't going to work. So yeah, maybe you did outlining, maybe you did all this research, bought all those books, and you've been writing the first draft. And you might think, well, I just need to force it. I need to keep writing this. I've spent so much time on it, and it won't always work. And like I've said previously in this video, it's sort of like a common theme here. Apparently, forcing it might not actually fix it. So sometimes you have to give up on a beloved writing project because it just isn't going to work for you or at all. Learn to let go. There will always be other ideas. And actually, if you're still missing your perfect story idea, you should get my free Your Best Story Idea workbook. The link is in the description. It's completely free, and it's going to help you create so many new story ideas that you will love. Sure, I do wish my biggest mistake in 2025 had been using too many commas, but there you go. What can you do? Despite my best efforts, I'm still only human. If you'd like to see more realistic writing content for busy humans with human lives, do subscribe, and I will see you in another video.